Welcome back to Hidden Power. This is a Pokemon podcast. The next Pokemon titles that are slated to receive a classic remake are the Generation 5 titles Pokemon Black and White. Today we're going to dissect our favorite gameplay aspects from the Unova games. We're going to discuss the logistical complications of actually remaking Black and White and where Black 2 and White 2 fit in with all of this. My name is DustyGogoat, and I'm also joined today by Egan Media. In this conversation, we discuss Pokemon Legends ZA, the concept of open world Pokemon, the best qualities from Generation 8, understanding what Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl did right, our favorite Pokemon remakes, Generation 10, and so much more. You can join in on the conversation down in the comments below. Egan, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I'm really excited to introduce you to our audience and get to know you a little bit more and talk about Generation 5. We were just saying off pod that 2023 was the year of Generation 5 remake hype. And that's actually how I found you. You had put out a video that performed extremely well about like what a Gen 5 remake would look like in our modern era. But yeah, welcome. Can you tell the audience like who you are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Egan Media. I do a lot of different things on the internet. I stream, I make videos, I talk about all my favorite topics, including Pokemon. I'm here to have a great time, and I'm genuinely so happy to be here.
To frame kind of what we're going to be talking about, which is Generation 5, what is your experience with this generation? And maybe you can tell us what your experience with Pokemon in general is, like maybe what your access point was. I know you are a little bit younger than me. Gen 5, to me, I got into it right as I entered college, so it's a completely different experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I got into Pokemon right when I turned 10, so that was in 2014, and my first games were X and Y. So I started very late from a lot of other people, because like I have like a cousin, actually he's the one who got me into it. I just randomly saw him playing it one day, and I was just totally absorbed by what I was looking at on his 3DS screen.
What was it that you kind of like gravitated? You said you were 10 years old?
Yeah, well, I was 9 when I first saw it, and then on my 10th birthday, my parents, they got me, a 3DS and then Pokemon Y.
Okay, so Y was the first game, and what? Yeah, I'm curious. Like, was it? Had you never heard about Pokemon before then?
No, I mean, I had heard of it. Kids at school would be like, "Oh, Pokemon, blah blah blah," stuff like that. And my cousin as well. He's been into it for years and years, and I think he always tried to get me into it. It'd be like, "Oh, but this is so cool, and this is that." And I'm like, what? I don't care, whatever. But then randomly, just one day, he's playing it, and I just so happen to
peek
over and be like, I'm like, what is that? And I tell you, I remember exactly where he was. I don't know the route, but it's when you're riding on Rhyhorn to go to that cave where you get the fossils and when you first fight Team Flare. I remember just being like, whoa, what are you doing? And then he goes into the cave, and he's encountering Pokemon. I'm like, what's that? He's like, it's a Kangaskhan. I'm like, whoa, what does it do? And I'm just totally,
that's crazy.
There.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that was a pretty big point. That was like kind of a shifting point. I don't think they perfected ride Pokemon at the time, but it was cool to see it kind of like actually actualized in a Pokemon game. That's really cool, man. Yeah, like this is how I would imagine in real life. This is how we would interact with the Pokemon, right? Like, they would be part of our lives in certain ways. Yeah,
going across like certain terrain, or like how they do in Sword and Shield, how they have the Corviknight taxis. Like, I'm like, that's so practical.
Real. Practical, yeah. Interesting. So then you found, so you were playing Y version, and then, so when did you see? So you got a copy of, was it Black or White for your birthday?
Well, actually, I didn't play Black and White until 2 years ago, actually.
Wait, what? Wait, so you played Black 2?
No, I played Black and White first, and then I played Black 2 like immediately after.
Oh, okay. So you you actually didn't experience Black and White until 2 years ago?
Yeah, no, 2 years ago.
No way, dude. Okay. Okay. And what was that like for you?
Starting from X and Y and then playing everything that came afterwards.
Okay, so you played Gen 6 and then Gen 7, Gen 8, Gen 9. And then you got into Black, so then you were like, I gotta go back. Yeah. So you had never experienced a pixel art Pokemon game.
Never.
Wow, interesting.
And it's even funnier because with X and Y when they got me it for my birthday, they also gave me a Mystery Dungeon game, but it just happened to be the first 3D. Yeah. So I even then never experienced it.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, I had heard people talk about it, like, oh, Black and White is one of the best games in Pokemon. And I'm like, you know what? I think it's finally time I just check it out. And going into it, I'm just immediately I'm just blown away, because the intro, like the first thing you see when you boot up that game is that opening cutscene of,
there's
Team
a story.
Plasma and them. Yeah, there's a story. Exactly. Or, when normally it'd just be like, or, like,
you're running in the fields.
Sapphire. Yeah, it's like, oh, the dew leaf and then the legendary flying by.
Okay, so talk to me about what kind of strikes you about that, because I do know originally I thought you were just a Pokemon YouTuber, then I found out like you actually make a lot of anime content as well.
Yeah.
Honestly, I remember seeing the Black and White intro and thinking it was weird. Like, a lot of Black and White to me when I first experienced it felt very foreign to what had come before it, including the intro. I'm like, who are these characters? Yeah. This feels like it's literally from an anime. Like, I was reading, what is it, Shonen Jump at the time, just like the monthly magazine. And I'm like, these feel like Yu-Gi-Oh characters or something. Or
just totally, like, abnormal, like alien. So, what is this?
I guess I'm just trying to understand, what is it that you enjoy about Generation 5 and the Black and White games?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I love that. Honestly, about the whole games, I love that they took a massive chance on being super different from any of the previous games, because only new Pokemon, at least until you beat the game. Such a hardcore glue to the story.
Yeah, that's what people. So that is definitely something that I experienced. I would think, like, at the time, that if you're playing these 2 years ago, you must have known what, like, Beartic was, right? Like, that's in other games.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So a lot of, it probably just felt like any other video game to you, or any other Pokemon game, right?
It kind of did. Yeah. It kind of did. Yeah.
Well, that's great.
But
great.
Yeah.
Well, tell me this, man. So the month is July, the year is 2024, and we do not currently have a Black and White remake. We don't have a Black 3, a White 3, none of that.
Or Legends Kyurem.
Legends Kyurem, none of that exists. Let's go Snivy. We're not playing these games at the moment.
No.
When do you think those will arise?
Oh Lord. I mean, hopefully, like, I said it in my video that you were talking about. I hope that they're not for at least a while still, but I think it would be pretty awesome if they came out after we get Gen 10 games, just because I think Gen 5 remakes being in Gen 10.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, it kind of like cool, little symbolic, a little bit. It's like, 5 plus 5 is 10.
No, that makes sense. They call it like numerology.
Yeah.
It does make sense, though. It does make sense. I think it would also here's another thing, like, Scarlet and Violet does a lot of cool things. I don't think the engine is really where I want to see more content. I'd rather them, like, kind of make a new engine, kind of figure out their stuff, figure out how to make a game in true HD, and then give us a remake within that. I mean, honestly, it's very similar to when Gen 5 came out. A lot of people were speculating. We were waiting for the Hoenn remakes, right? That was a big piece of speculation. There were, there's always some sort of hints if you look for them. And at that time, we were like, all right, the next games after Black and White are going to be the Hoenn remakes. Didn't come. We got Black 2 and White 2, which was also kind of crazy. That was the first time we got like a sequel game.
Yeah,
and then
directly after what?
Yeah, no, it was literally insane. And then the box. I mean, this is beside my point, but the box legendary was pretty incredible to see that it was a fusion Pokemon and that these were like direct sequels. That was I love the continuation of the story. But anyways, we didn't get Gen 3 remakes, and I think from Game Freak's perspective, the Gen 5 engine was outdated. To me, when I play it, I love it because it's the kind of like the ultimate version, right? It's the perfect engine to represent the pixel era, and that's what I grew up with when it came with Pokemon. So for me, playing it back, like I think it's beautiful. I think it's such a special piece of art. Like the engine itself, like everything within it, it's gorgeous. But I think from Game Freak's perspective, they were looking forward. Like, we're not going to give you any more content within this region. Let's get you on 3D because that's where the market is. That's what the kids want, right? That's what people want. And that's when we got Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. I feel like right now in Generation 9, we're in a similar place. We only have Scarlet and Violet. We only have the DLC. And the Legends Arceus, the Legends ZA game, the engine, it's probably going to be a completely different engine if I had to guess.
I hope so.
yeah. I want to talk about I guess Black and White. Like, what kind of Pokemon do you think? So what I'm trying to get at is, like, if we get a remake for Black and White, right?
Right.
I watched your video. I think it's you threw out a lot of really great ideas. Could you communicate to the audience some of those talking points?
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the biggest things that I wanted to talk about with that video was overall the story, because, as we were saying, and as you were saying, it's not just one game with a random third version that's kind of like the perfect version. It's 2 games, 2 different stories that, complete one another. But to me, at least, or at least I think so, and I wonder if actually you agree with this, the Black 2, White 2 story in comparison to the Black and White story is like almost halfened by like a lot, because from my perspective, right, or how I'm thinking of it, because I went into those games like I'd heard that the story was like one of the best ever, so I'm looking at it with that. And then when I went to Black 2, White 2, I was looking at it with that as well. From the very first town that you make your way into, you see Team Plasma there, and they're making their mark, like, we're Team Plasma, we're going to liberate Pokemon, and they're around every corner, like in the Dream Yard and then in the cave. And they're everywhere. But in Black 2, White 2, they almost take okay, we got our butts kicked. Let's take it back and let's be selective with our choosings. Like, they're still around, but to me at least, it didn't feel like they did anything significant until Drift Veil, when you get on the boat, you fight them, and then Opelucid, then you get on the ship again. Then confront Ghetsis, all that stuff. So to me, I think the main way of handling the story of both of them, and this may be a controversial take, I don't know if it is or isn't, is you make the main game Black and White, like that story.
Okay.
And then you make Black 2, White 2 almost like the post game, or like a Delta episode kind of thing.
I think they could do something. Yeah, keep going.
Because it's totally like, you're not going to get. It's just, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not productive to make Black White remakes and then eventually a little bit later make Black 2, White 2 remakes.
I don't think they would. I think
no.
If we get a pair of remakes and they're Black and White, and it doesn't include any Black 2, White 2 content, we're not getting Black 2, White 2.
Yeah, exactly.
But but I really like that. I like the idea of a continuation, or almost like a new story, right? Or truly like a definitive version of a game, which is what it should be. Yeah. I think if we were to get whatever you want to call, right, like something that's like a Delta episode, what that actually could look like is you play through the story of Black and White as is, and then there's almost this implied time skip.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think the difference is like it's like 2 or 3 years is
something
later
like
is when the events of Black 2 and White 2 happen. And what that could be is you only play from the perspective of, because there's two, it's not like Platinum where it's like a different reality. It's literally 2 different, completely different stories, 2 different characters, right? So if you play from the perspective of, what are the main characters? Is it like it's like Nathan?
Like Nate and Rosa and like
those are the
and Hilbert.
Yeah. Okay. So who I think it's Nate and Rosa are Black and White, base Black and White.
Other way around.
Oh, it's the other way around. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, if you play through Black and White, I love that, and nothing has to change, right? They can maybe add like hidden grottos, right? They could add a couple extra things that maybe, were just like regional improvements or whatever. throughout the region. And then once you get to post game, you're basically just unlocking all of the new areas that were present in Black 2 and White 2 that you couldn't get to in the first game. So then it's like you really just play through the game, and then it's like something happens, and then to explain, you add something to explain all of this new access. Which then you could do whatever you want with it. And then you could almost from a different, because this is what gets kind of cool for me, is when you get to watch the events of Black 2 and White 2. You get to watch those like events from a different person's perspective.
Yeah.
Right? So you're not the main character, right? And then what that does is maybe you get to actually battle Nate and Rosa, right? Maybe you get to battle Hugh, right?
Oh.
I don't know what they would do with it. I mean, I don't know. That doesn't even sound that difficult. Where it gets a little bit difficult are the characters that changed over those 3 years. But maybe they could just do that. Maybe they could be like, "This is what I was. You beat the Elite Four. Time passed. Like just 3 years pass, and now Bianca's a little bit older, and Sharon's a little bit older. Your main character is maybe a little bit older. They do like an Ocarina of Time thing.
I
don't know. Maybe that's wishful thinking, but to me that just feels like basically 2 remakes packaged together. But you're not destroying or changing the main experience of Black and White, which is what I think Game Freak's afraid to do.
Yeah, because I mean, it is a tricky. It's a tricky one to go with, but I definitely think, or you said, I don't know if it's wishful thinking. I think honestly, like, because I believe that they're gonna want to do something like that. Because I don't think like Gen 10 we're gonna get Gen 5 remakes, and then maybe a gen or two later we're gonna get Black 2, White 2. There's no way, no way. So I genuinely do think, or would like to believe, that they are gonna somehow get the best of both worlds in it.
Yeah. What do you think the game, like, what would you? So if that's the setting, if that's how they do it, I think what we're kind of describing is like a faithful remake, or at least, here's the thing. They did Let's Go, and then they did Legends, and then they did BDSP, which is the faithful remake. We're all, like, every time they introduce a new version, everyone's like, oh, that's going to be the new definitive version for a remake. But what if...
That's it for the future.
Yeah, but what if they just make a Heart Gold Soul Silver version? Or like a similar style of game where it's not just a faithful remake, but they like reimagine what the region could look like. I guess they don't need to do that because there's already so many things in Gen 5, or there's already so much care. Like, they're not outdated. I think the philosophies that Game Freak uses to create these games, to create the Gen 5 games, is it's like the same philosophy they use to make a Gen 9 game. So maybe they don't need to do a full-on remake, and that's the value of a faithful remake, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Gen 5, like you said, I as you said, I genuinely do believe it's one of those games where if you want to like do a updated version, you can, but if you leave it like as faithful as can be, along with adding Black 2, White 2 stuff, I think it's one of those regions where it perfectly works.
Yeah.
Whereas or at least I think, I don't know how you feel about this, but I think with how they did with BDSP, that was not the right case with that one, where exactly faithful, because if you did Platinum, then you get the best of everything, but they just did the Diamond and Pearl.
Yeah. So did you, we never talked about this, have you played Gen 1, 2, 3, 4? Have you played any of those generation games?
So I've played through... No, yeah. I've played through at least all the regions in some way, shape, and form. I started with Gen 6, everything onward. The first one I went back and did was Gen 5. And then, funnily enough, right when the 3DS shops were closing down, I went and purchased Crystal and Red. I only played through Crystal, had an absolute blast with that.
Yeah.
I have yet to play Red, but I've played through Kanto before with Let's Go. And, Oraz with Ruby and Sapphire.
Yeah.
And then BDSP. But I haven't gone back and played any of those other ones.
What did you like about those games?
About...
You played Red version?
Oh, no, I played Crystal.
Oh, you only played Crystal.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I mean, those are... So I guess I was asking that because I'm... Basically, the main criticism with BDSP... I think the real criticism is that it copies Diamond and Pearl and not Platinum, right? Which I think you were kind of saying.
Yeah.
But that's, even though that's always been kind of a thing, like Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire are pretty faithful to Ruby and Sapphire. It's not an Emerald game. I think Heart Gold and Soul Silver is actually kind of a Crystal. I think they're both Crystal. They both kind of are Crystal. Just like not really. I don't think the games are that different. So like the remake just feels like kind of just a definitive version above Crystal.
No, absolutely. And I forgot to say this. Sorry.
Yeah.
I did play Heart Gold Soul Silver eventually.
Oh, okay.
I did that. Sorry. Yeah, I forgot to mention that when I was saying which ones.
I mean, that's a great game to play. Yeah.
All right. No, I just remembered. Yeah, I did it last year.
Okay. All right. Did you enjoy it? Because it's a different type of game, and people complain about it all the time.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, I thought it was beautiful. It was so beautiful. Like
the colors are vibrant. There's like movement all over the screen. All of the following Pokemon are so great because it allows you to like. It's almost like a reward for catching Pokemon. You know?
Yeah, it's like you got it. There he is.
Here's another way to see it. Yeah, like there's like you can't see that thing. Like whatever when the Pokemon's following you. You can only see that if you capture them and you like train them and you're using them, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a really special thing.
It makes the journey feel real.
Yeah, and like really personalized as well. Because Pokemon's all about like making like choices and like, you know, making decisions between certain things. Even up to like collecting your own, collecting your own Pokemon and making your own team. So like to see that personalization is great.
I love it.
Yeah, I guess I really am curious, like, I guess like how I guess maybe you don't even like see a difference between like the 2D and the 3D games, because I would love, when we're talking about a remake, right, especially with Gen 5, I think there could be something really special done with Gen 5 in the remake or a revisit to Unova. I think there's really something special that could happen where they give us a third version in that 2D art style, right? Because I think it's already, to me, that's Game Freak's bread and butter. Since they've moved to 3D, there's plenty of great things about Pokemon games. Like, I'm not one to be like, they all suck now. Like, they're great for what they are.
Yeah.
Right? Pokemon's all about world building. It's about the Pokemon, right?
Yeah, it's about the world. It's about the Pokemon. It's the world they inhabit, how they fit in it.
Yeah.
How the trainers, how the people fit in it.
And it's so much bigger than just the games. And I think the games have a lot of problems. But I do think, to me, I think Game Freak nails 2D, and it allows us to like almost use our imaginations more, because it's like, that's just like when something's more stylized or is smaller scale, you just kind of fill in the gaps with your mind. You're like, oh, there's only 2 houses in Pallet Town, but it's a town, and in real life, towns have hundreds of houses.
Yeah, no,
right?
Exactly.
So you just assume there's, you're only seeing what is important to that story, that the game you're playing. So my point is, I think a lot of fans could be disappointed with a 3D Unova game because it's maybe not as like grand as they remember. Right. That's kind of, I think, maybe where I think a lot of fans of Sinnoh kind of felt like that with BDSP. They're like, all right, well, where's our big 3D game? No,
honestly, I fully, because growing up after Oraz had come out, on the internet, just YouTube, everything, everybody was going, oh, Gen 4 remakes. Now it's time for Gen 4 remakes. Everybody's saying that. And I'm like, I got so excited for it. And I'd barely seen, I kind of kept myself away from anything from Gen 4 other than like the Pokemon, just because I can't avoid that. But, and then here it comes. And then I'm like, that's interesting. that's a squish.
It's a little chibi. It's a little chibi.
It took a little bit to get used to. I at the end of the day, like, I don't mind how that chibi looks, but it definitely is something to get used to in comparison to like how the chibis were for Oraz or X and Y.
I love that you say that, because the Gen 6 games are the same chibi. Like, when people say like they don't want a faithful remake, they don't want chibi, I'm like, you loved these games.
Yeah, that's how they looked.
Yeah.
And then on the Nintendo Switch do you think the Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee games are technically chibi, kind of like with how they look? Because I think, like,
I guess I don't know.
because I'm looking at, or I'm thinking in my mind, like I'm looking at Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. I'm looking at those character models.
Yeah.
And then I'm looking at, Sword and Shield, Sword and Shield character models, Scarlet and Violet character models, and I'm like, those are more defined and like more body accurate to like a real character model.
I guess a chibi is just like, how about this? I'll just Google what is a chibi. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Oh, damn it, those are chibis. Also known as super deformation style of caricature originating in Japan. Oh, okay. That's it. It's just an art style.
Yeah.
It's just an art style it's something with a big head. Yeah. So what games were you were saying? I think X and Y makes sense. I think
Omega, X and Y,
Ruby.
Yeah.
Gameplay.
I was saying like Omega Ruby and
I guess they're a little bit less
Pikachu and Eevee.
I guess they're a little bit less chibi. I think what makes them feel like chibi is the top-down perspective. Yeah, I guess they're really not chibi. But they are a little bit. No, they are. Like, look at Steven. Steven's got a big head right here.
Yeah, like the heads in comparison to the bodies. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, so that's a chibi. Oh, yeah. Look at Professor
Birch.
Birch has got a big head. And then, so I would say, and then Let's Go Pikachu. Let's see. I think they are chibis.
Yeah.
They got the big noggins.
Yeah, because now look at like not Sun and Moon, sorry. Well, actually, Sun and
Moon is not chibi at all.
Yeah, they're not chibi, so that was right. That was the right accident on my part. But I meant to say, like, look at Sword and Shield, because those are not chibis for sure.
No. And I guess it's not the fact that they're just chibis. I think another big issue here is a gameplay feature, or quality, is that, where is it? I'm trying to pull up a picture. Is that basically these games are not just chibi, they are, this is not it. They're also top down, and they have a fixed camera. It's like a Mario game, or like one of those older Mario games. It's the same perspective. You just move Mario left and right and up and down. You jump, but it's 2D. That's why it's 2D. Even if you can walk, forward, you can walk in any direction.
Yeah,
it still looks 2D, right?
Yeah. Like in Oraz, those buildings have definition, but they're just a flat image, and you just walk into the door.
And so when we look at, and I don't even know if I answered your question, because we were talking about like BDSP and the problems with that. I think I'll complete that. BDSP, I think the problem with that is that it doesn't incorporate a lot of platinum features, and also it adds new problems with the fact that the engine isn't like, again, it's got some technical limitations. And I think it just has some gameplay, like, it's just clunky. Like, to me, what is really frustrating is having a 2D world in a grid that's built around a grid system, but you can move in all directions. And then as you're moving, your character clips on edges, right? You have this really narrow, that's faithfully made, a really, really narrow bridge, but you can't even move your character onto the bridge. You know? It's stuff like that.
So, like...
Yeah, it doesn't... It's like
constricts you.
It is constricting. It's like they're trying to be too faithful without actually considering like how the game plays. And I think that's the problem with BDSP. Let's Go doesn't do that. Let's Go, it is faithful, but it is, Let's Go is super faithful, but they add the different, catching style or whatever.
Yeah, the catching, and then Pokemon actually, like, you don't walk in the grass, like, they're out. You can ride them.
Yeah. They add so many beautiful things to like enhance the experience. Even though Kanto is so like linear, right?
Yeah, and the games look beautiful.
They really do.
Like the art style, like we were talking about it with Black and White, like how that's the peak of like 2D pixel art Pokemon stuff.
Oh yeah.
I think personally that Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, because Pokemon does have a style. It's very bright and it's almost not rubbery, but like it looks like a little rubbery, like very bright colors. I think Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee in terms of 3D perfectly like capture that feel. And
I like how you said that. It's like what you're describing sounds like a toy, and it's funny.
Yeah,
people compare BDSP to I feel like Pokemon and Game Freak is always trying to copy Zelda, right?
I mean,
like that toy Zelda game, the Link's Awakening remake,
yes,
right? And now the new what is it, Tears of Wisdom, or the new Zelda,
the one
game.
Where Zelda,
the new Zelda game,
actually Zelda,
yeah. The Zelda game, but they look like toys. And that is a great way to think it. Obviously, this isn't like, in my mind, I want to play these games as if they're real. Yeah. But yeah, they can look cartoony. They don't need to look realistic. Yeah, and I think that's a problem with. I was just playing Sword version, and just like looking at it and playing the intro for the first time, and I'm like, this game is gorgeous. I thought Sword and Shield looked so good because it stuck to an art style, because it's also a linear game experience. So I think what I'm trying to get at again is, if we get a black and white remake, right? I don't know if open world 3D is really what we all want, because if they do that,
I don't think so.
Yeah, because then if they do that, then they basically have to restructure the Unova region, which on one hand is like, I don't want that because I don't want them to screw it up, and I don't have like faith in Game Freak. But on the other hand, I just think maybe that's not even their fault. It's just like I think I would just prefer it's like, if I'm playing black and white and then I play black and white 2, I want the third version or the remake to be in the same engine, because it's not even a remake. We say remake because that's like the language.
Yeah, but, that's why everybody says like, oh, these new Gen 4 remakes, Gen 5 remakes, yeah.
But they're not remakes. They're just like new games in a familiar region.
Yeah,
it's like, I guess what I'm thinking about is like,
because they're never the exact same story, unless your name is BDSP. But funnily enough, I wasn't even trying to take a shot at it, but like, it's true. Like, none of them are the exact same games. They are improvements. They add in new stuff, little things here and there. And it's like, I'm getting, if I play Pokemon Remake, doing air quotes for that,
remake.
If I'm playing a Pokemon Remake, I want a similar experience, not an exact copy experience. Yeah,
it's kind of like,
I want something new.
Like, I'm thinking about, like, I'm gonna bring it to Star Wars for a minute. I don't know if you consume Star Wars, but
I have dabbled in Star Wars a little bit.
You've dabbled. Okay, I've experimented in Star Wars a little bit. I feel like a lot of people get really upset when Star Wars is depicted in different ways, whether it's the art style, or there's a different director, or there's a different cadence, or like a different like emotion behind it. Like, there's you know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely.
Yeah. So like, and I think a lot of the backlash of the prequels or the sequels is that it's a completely different presentation of that universe, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
no, absolutely.
Even though they're, I'm not speaking on like quality. I'm just saying like it can be jarring for like, if you love the OG Star Wars, right? That has a different look. It has a different feel. It's from the 70s. And then it's like, you go to the prequels. It's old
and it has that charm.
Yeah. And then you go, let's say you watch the sequels, you're going to be like, what is this? This looks so different.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I'm watching a Marvel movie now.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Who's this Poe Dameron guy making quips? He's about to die. Yeah. Anyways,
who's BB-8?
Yeah. Where's my R2?
Where's R2 and 3PO?
Yeah. Back in my day, we had C-3PO. So I guess what I'm saying is like, if we revisit Unova, I just think it'd be a way more enriching and consistent experience for the engine to stay the same. And maybe they enhance it. They could make a new one, but I think there's a lot of value in these top-down games. Like, I think there's a lot of value in like if we had a Unova game that looked like this and was still grid-based and linear, fine, let it be. Like, that's fine. I think there's a lot of room for this.
Do you think, continuing on along with Gen 5 remakes, that Pokemon will go back to that top-down view? Because I think
just in the future, like Gen 10?
Yeah, like Gen 10 and then Gen 5, and then maybe like, because I think like the open world thing, once Zelda did it with, Breath of the Wild, everyone did it. Like, Mario kind of, or not Mario kind of did it, but
I feel like I get you. That was like, it's funny because like 10 years prior, again, when I was in college, Skyrim, GTA 5, the Fallout games,
all these open world experiences.
Those were like super open world RPGs, and then it was like every other main series or main game, like popular game that came out had to have some sort of like air of open world, even though it was still just like a simple story.
Yeah.
And then Nintendo caught up to it, and Pokemon is finally catching up to it. And I'm like, the novelty to me, I'm like, I don't really care about it. I don't mind that it's, I do think it makes sense. It's funny, dude. I don't know. I get kind of conflicted because I do feel like it is fun to play an open world Pokemon game. It is fun to be able to be like, I'm going to travel from here to there. But I just think there's a missing link when it comes to presentation, when it comes to just intention of the art style. Like, okay, here's a screenshot. Let's see if I can pull this up of Sword and Shield. This is like the starting town, right? To me, this is so beautiful. Like,
oh, I love it.
Like, can you see it here? Let me lower it a little bit.
No, yeah, I can see it. Yeah,
this is so beautiful because you can't actually travel beyond this town. Like, yes, you can walk down this hallway or whatever, this trail. You can
walk down the path.
You can go to the right and get to the Pokemon. You can go to these houses, but everything to the left, everything to the right, everything behind it, those mountains, you cannot go to them. But that's fine. Right?
Yeah, because that lets your mind think, and you're like, what is over there? Like, is there a flock of Wooloo? Are there some rare Pokemon? Like, you don't know.
Is there like a Snorlax in those mountains? Right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
And obviously, the temptation is to be like, well, let me do that, right?
Yeah, let me
fulfill that. But they let us do that in Scarlet and Violet, and it kind of sucked because
like everything, like we know, like we play Sword and Shield, and we're like, I mean, we can look at the map and see like the giant,
that's a good point.
Giant space between the starting area and the Crown Tundra, because there's just like a giant like piece of flat land, like
this right here. That's on Sereti.
Yeah, because like the giant piece of like flat land in between, there's probably stuff on there, but we can't look at it. But when we play Scarlet and Violet,
keep going.
When we play Scarlet and Violet, we know every single inch of that map, which in theory sounds cool, but at the same time, it does lose that like mystery of like what could be over there.
Yeah, like right here, like this picture. Where is it? This picture right here. Your character is actually right here.
Yeah, like right on the O1.
And that's fine. Or maybe they're like right here. And you're just seeing the town. And that's fine. But then when you zoom out, you're like, what is all over here? And for some reason the Crown Tundra was there the whole time. Right? Like, why can't I go explore there? Yeah. So that and I think this I don't know. I think in Scarlet and Violet, I guess maybe I'm complaining about the wrong thing here. Because actually, this is pretty because you can let your imagination run wild. The temptation, I'm just kind of going through the order of operations. The temptation is, I want to play it, but then when you go play Scarlet and Violet, when you actually do get to play here, and you get to turn around and fly up and then go over, it kind of actually breaks immersion because you're like, I shouldn't be able to just like go to a brand new region or like,
a brand new section of the region.
Yeah, like it's like everywhere I go, every step I take is a fast travel. If I can get there in 10 seconds, like that doesn't feel very grand. And that might be part of it. Like where I don't know if you've played it, but I played Skyrim a ton growing up, and it would literally take you like 20 minutes to get to a new town, right?
It takes a while.
If it's the other side of the
games.
Yeah, if it's the other side of the map, it literally could take you an hour to walk there. And then also as you're walking, you get attacked by a mud crab, and then you find like a new mission, and then you spend 4 hours in a cave.
Yeah, you get sidetracked, and you're like, I'm immersed in the world. I'm getting the genuine experience. Because if you're driving, on a road and you see like, I don't know, a weird or interesting looking shop, and you're like, we have time to kill. Let's go see what that is. You go and it's like it emulates that sort of realness of life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's what it is, right? That's what I want. So the question is, should Black and White 3, should a new Unova game look like this, where it's a linear experience with this illusion of open world, which I think is possible. This is actually what I would probably want, not even for a Black and White, return, but for Gen 10, this is kind of
onward.
Yeah, this is kind of what I think Pokemon should like they went really wide, and I think there could be value in like narrowing it back down to being like, no, you go here and then here and then here and then here. Or maybe it's like, no, Gym 1 is always this, Gym 2 is always this, the rest of the gyms, do it in whatever order you want, and they scale, right? It's like I just need some sort of like narrative, like I don't know. That's kind of the big question. Or or they just give us another, or they just bring back this type of
selective
art
2D
style. Yes, is that what is it? Would you call it selective?
Yeah, or because it's it's selective 2D. Because I mean the very top one, with the house, like that house does look 3D.
It does.
It's like instead of like just looking flat, yes, like selective 2D. I think I agree with what you said with the like how Sword and Shield looks. I genuinely believe, or because people griped about like the trees look horrible or whatever, any of that stuff with this game.
Don't look good.
No, yeah, they're not perfect, but I don't, they don't look like F64 stuff. But,
and no one's talking about the shovel. This shovel is awful.
What about that wheelbarrow?
Yeah, that's a bad wheelbarrow.
What a horrible.
That's the
0 out of 10.
Yeah.
But no, like I think if Pokemon took this and how these games looked and just continue to fine tune them, like if Scarlet and Violet looked like this, but with like however many years of fine tuning and like improvement, genuinely one of the most beautiful looking games on the Switch or Pokemon games. Like I think these games were so close to being it, and then they went to Chibi and were like, okay, where are we going now? Because this is a little special treatment. We're going with BDSP, and then we go to Legends Arceus, and we're like, okay, this is a specific art style because we're back in the past, and then we get to the next gen, and it's like the most realistic thing they've seen in my like, what are you doing?
That's we haven't even talked about it, but like Legends Arceus, I'll pull up some images. I think so. Legends Arceus did a thing where it's like open. What do they call it? Open area.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of and I have never thought about this before because whenever I think of the open area of Legends Arceus, it's like you have a central hub and then there's different areas that are not connected.
Yeah, and you always have to go back to the central hub to go to other places.
But to maybe use the Galar map as an example of what I'm kind of thinking about right now for what Gen 10 could do in terms of their, perfecting an open world or whatever. Yeah. Maybe what they have to do is create, like, instead of like having the whole region just be like linear routes, make each area a wild area, which is kind of what they did in Legends Arceus. But I think what I'm imagining more is like there are like, I don't know, gates or like barriers. So as soon as you cross it, one map, maybe it just fades to black and then opens back up, and one map just disappears. And then the new one, that's a new biome. You can play in that. And maybe it's like, as you progress through the game, maybe once you have 2 badges, a whole new area opens up, right? Yeah. And then it's like then you get 4 badges, and maybe you defeat 1 Titan, and now a new area opens up, or maybe it's like, I like the freedom aspect of Scarlet and Violet, so maybe what they would have to do is like allow you to actually, maybe it's not badges, but maybe it's like allow you to other ways of unlocking these locations.
Some check mark that you have to get like crossed off. It's like, okay, now you can go.
Yeah. Just so like I don't know. I think these Pokemon games do need some sort of narrative. And there is, I don't feel that.
Some sort of story, some sort of direction that like ties into the gameplay, kind of, where it's like, hey, you did this. Yeah. Have a fun time in the next one.
Which is maybe they kind of already do that with the routes. It's just in 3D, it just doesn't make sense. So I feel like I don't know if we're getting derailed at all. But yeah, so tell me about this, man. What are you excited for about Legends ZA?
Oh boy. I mean, or like I said, started with X and Y. So it has a special place in my heart, where I started. Yeah. So I'm honestly I'm just so excited to just see that region again, hear that music, modern, or maybe in a funny way, like old modern, because I don't know if it's future or past. I think it's in the past. True, but like an old modern, just like hear that music, see Lumio City, bigger, better than ever, and just see how they execute that. Because at first I was like, there's no way you can have a game only in Lumio City. Like, where are all the Pokemon coming from?
Yeah.
And like a couple of my friends, we were looking at the map, and it's like, well, what if Lumio City, like back in the day, is like takes up so many of the other like routes that are surrounding it?
Oh,
because that would make a lot more sense as like how the Pokemon are there. Or maybe like Lumio City
really cool.
isn't even a thing, and there already is Pokemon there, and then we made it.
Yeah,
Lumio
we
City.
industrialize.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly.
I like what you're saying. I don't think Lumio City will be bigger. I don't think it'll be bigger, because then you would think like, well, where's all the, like, if this is back in the day, it's like, okay, well, like where are all those buildings in modern time? But
like what happened?
But I do think what you're saying makes sense. Where I imagine it's gonna be more like there just isn't a lot of like artificial human-made infrastructure, where there'll be buildings, but like there's still a connection to nature, right?
Yeah.
The roads, I imagine, are like cobblestone, and
cobblestone, dirt,
not
like,
pavement, not steel beams, right?
No, not at all.
And so animals can still, or Pokemon can still, like, it just feels more natural, right? Like, like this image that I just happened to still have up of Scarlet and Violet, or of Sword and Shield. There's like, there's a couple houses, but they have plants all over them, right? And there's a river flowing through, and there's a simple trail where a Pokemon can enter it. And
I was about to say, like, that Wooloo right there. That Wooloo right there could make its way into the city, into the town, and it's like, oh, hey, little guy, what are you doing here?
But also for just scale, like, I think that's another thing to take in mind. Like, I don't know. This is when people say they're not excited for the game or they're worried. I just look at this and I'm like, this is going to be the same scale. You're going to have one character. The houses are going to be to scale to your character, except they'll be like 200 houses or buildings or whatever, right? So there's going to be this whole entire region to explore. But because it's to scale, this actually might not even be accurate. This actually might still be scaled down or scaled up, or this still might not be totally proportionate. Like, the buildings could be bigger, the rivers will be wider, right? The plants will be bigger,
longer. Everything.
But your character will remain the same size. Yeah. So that, it does excite me, because I do think about, like, I don't know if you played GTA, like Grand Theft Auto, like
I have,
it's an entire game, it's an entire experience. In an actual, I mean, it's obvious. I don't even think it's not even scaled legitimately properly, but it is scaled
to where like not you're fooled, but like you look at like the streets and the cities and the neighborhoods. It's like this feels
real.
It feels legit. Like
you're
if I was putting here
real.
In real life, if I was putting it in real life, this is what I'd expect. This is exactly
Like with this image of Sword and Shield, it's like it does. We were saying it leaves room for your mind to wander, and I wonder how much my mind will be able to wander in Pokemon Legends ZA. I think a lot of it might be filled in, and you're going to be able to see the Dragonair and the Pyroar and all these like friendly Pokemon just exploring the area.
I think the Flabébé is just kind of
just floating around. I think it would be cool though. Some of the theories that we've had on this podcast are like, what if Pokemon is copying Zelda? What if they make an area underneath Lumio City, which is the catacombs, right? And maybe the catacombs or this other tunnel system underneath is what the evil team is, I don't know,
plotting.
They're plotting something. Or maybe it's like, actually, I never even thought about this, but like Zygarde is a snake. What if there's all these like Zygarde tunnels? I never thought of that before.
That's how it goes around. That's how it's fast pass travels through everywhere. Because now especially that,
because anything could appear under the ground.
Oh yeah, just kind of pop up like, what's going on?
It's like the Dynamax Adventures, right?
Yeah. Actually,
Dynamax Adventures. Yeah, dude. Honestly, it could be this. We could see something like this in Legends ZA.
That'd be so funny. Like, if we see that and we're like, oh my god, he called it. He called it.
Well, I didn't realize you were so I was preparing for a lot of Gen 5 talk, but I didn't realize how like nostalgic you are for Gen 6. Like, what are some things in Gen 6 that you're hoping kind of make a return? Or maybe, there's a lot of things that people talk about. They say like a lot of things went unanswered, right? In Gen 6, we never got the Z version. Like, is there anything off the top of your head where you're like, this has to be fulfilled?
Well, the only thing like I know for sure that I'm like, I want this just because I've seen how it could have been done with the Pokemon XY and XYZ anime. Just Zygarde, and I'm sure it's gonna, because the Z is in the title. Mm-hmm. It has to have that focus.
Yeah.
It has to have that focus, but that doesn't mean entirely and only Zygarde. Also Xerneas and Yveltal, because you play through X and Y. The words Xerneas and Yveltal are not said at any point in the game or mentioned. Like they feel just like
they're like it's like Lugia and Ho-Oh in a lot of ways. Where it's like they're not actually central to the plot. They just get like scooped up by the bad guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Kyogre and Groudon, there's lore throughout the region that people are, in Mount Pi, or people are, I don't know if you've played Gen 3, but people, the elders there, they're talking about them. They give you the orbs. You have backstory. Yeah. The whole game, you're seeing all this weather. It's a major theme of the Hoenn region. Team Aqua and Magma, they have a goal. They're telling you about this creature that they're trying to encompass and get a hold of, specifically because of what the Pokemon is. One controls the sky, the sea. One controls the land. In X and Y, you're right. It's like they're the same thing.
Yeah, they're just there in the room, kind of just powering this.
They literally are powerless. Weapon.
Yeah, and it's like what I would love, but see, we're not gonna get, or I don't know how it's gonna work. But
I mean, you never know. What would you like to see? It's like it's not a prediction.
What I'd love to just know of is like, where would Zygarde, or no, well, actually, where would either Zygarde, Xerneas, or Yveltal just casually stick around? Like, do they have a cave that they just call home, like how the Pixies are in all the lakes? Do they have anywhere they call home? Because everything about Xerneas, Yveltal, Zygarde, it's so, I mean, Zygarde's in a terminus cave, so that's like it kind of, but it's like everything about those legendaries is so like artificial.
Yeah.
It's like they were placed here, they were put here as a tree in a cocoon, and then they just, where am I now? Okay, who are you? Okay, let's go.
And I wonder, I mean, some of that feels like just like maybe just like a failure of the plot, right? It might just be a failure of the story. I know X and Y were kind of rushed. Sword and Shield also kind of have like feel like they have a really fleshed out world and universe, but I feel like the plot is just kind of like, I don't know, it's not very compelling to me.
Yeah, it's definitely like it takes a major step back because like everything previously, like, oh, the end of the world, this ultimate weapon, these legends are just duking it out, everything, and then it's just like, we got an energy crisis, and we got to figure it out somehow.
Yeah. Right. Let me think. Yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty excited for the game. At this point, I don't think we're getting any game this year.
Yeah, I'm under that same impression. I don't think we're gonna get anything this year, which
it's disappointing.
Happy about.
Yeah,
it's a little bit, but at the same time, I'm happy just so that they can focus on these, and it's like these can be as good as they should be, need to be.
Yeah. What do you love about Pokemon? Like, what? I mean, I know you have other interests, but what do you love about Pokemon? Like, what compels you to it?
I mean, there's just a sense of joy that I get just from. I love going on this adventure that is personalized to me. We were talking about this earlier because it's all about choices. It's about like you said that it's all about these choices that you make. It's about what Pokemon you want, how you're how you can customize your character, and how you as a player, you as a person, you as a player, you as a person, go through these events. Everybody has a different experience, and everybody has a different viewpoint of it. I may love Cryogonal, but somebody else may be like,
I like Glalie.
I like lately. It's like there's so much, but like with something like opinions exist in every game that has like a different story in that. But like with like Breath of the Wild or Legend of Zelda, it's like everybody's experiencing the same kind of events.
Yeah.
But it's like because you get the same weapons or whatever. It's like you get the same weapons, you do the same things. But I face this gym leader with a different starter, a different mon that I got on this random route. Like it's so, I don't know. I think they really from the get go, like ever since Gen 1, they've always had such a great group of people who know how to make this world feel like it's convincing. Like this world, I feel like this is a fictional world I believe in.
Yeah.
Like the cities, these people, the cultures around it, everything. Yeah. And I just love seeing like how different places of our world that are inspired or that have inspired the regions, how they interpret that. Like I think what they did with Alola in Hawaii, I was like, that is amazing.
It is pretty cool. And for Alola specifically, I remember when that happened, I kind of felt like, oh, like I feel like I get to like almost pretend like I'm in Hawaii. Like I get to pretend, like, almost get a taste of the Hawaiian culture. Even though obviously it's not Hawaii, it's Alola.
No, yeah.
But there's a lot of inspiration there, and I get a similar vibe when I'm playing a Kalos game or when I'm playing, the Galar game doesn't feel too different to me because I live in New England and there's a lot of similarities.
Right.
But no, I like that a lot. People have suggested too. Also, I've heard the people have talked about like, what if Pokemon doesn't, like, what if Gen 10 isn't based on a real world region? And I'm like, I don't think they've ever done that. Even when they haven't totally done that, there's always been a starting point of inspiration.
Yeah, it's like this, maybe just this little area.
Yeah,
it's like, but then like
we can the Ore region in like Colosseum.
Exactly.
I think it's based on like Arizona or something. That's what they say.
Yeah, I think something like that.
Makes sense to me, but no, I really like that, man. It is true. It's like being able to like, I don't know. Pokemon's really pleasant. There's a lot of like fantasy universes where I'm like, this is gripping. Like I love this. I love Star Wars. I wouldn't want to live there. It sounds pretty awful. I love, the Game of Thrones universe. I wouldn't want to live there. That sounds awful. But the Pokemon universe, it's our universe, but like with sentient pets, right?
Yeah.
I love it.
No, absolutely. It's like, like you were saying.
And there is magic, but you can harness it,
Yeah, you can. Yeah, because like with
it's inspiring, it's uplifting.
Going back to like that whole like Zelda thing, it's like you can't be Link. He's the chosen one. He is a hero.
Sure.
But with Pokemon, anyone can be like a trainer, and they display that in the game. You fight trainers while you go out, and there's so many different people and personalities that are like core figures of this. Like Blue, who's like such a jerk. Like even somebody who you could see as like a high school bully or just like a bully or just a rival.
Yeah.
Even they can be like somebody in this world.
Yeah. No, absolutely. What would your trainer class be?
Oh, goodness.
I just thought of this. I'm going to start asking all of our guests now.
Oh, Lordy. I think the coolest one to me personally is like the ace trainer.
I was going to say that. You got to be an ace trainer. You got to have a team of at least 5. Right, on Victory Road.
And you always get a cool outfit. You get something nice.
Blue hair, you're wearing like a jumpsuit.
Yeah, like a nice pose or something like that.
What's your favorite type?
Oh man. It's probably a tie between electric or fire. Okay. I think there's a lot of cool things that you can do with that with like Pokemon, and I think they do a really good job.
Would you be like a fire or electric type trainer?
Yeah. Like I think about like, if I were a gym leader, like in that regard as well, it's like, it'd probably be one of those two. Because like if you can also have a lot of fun with those outfits. It's
totally,
like
yeah. Just where there's like the fire breather in Heart Gold.
Yes.
He's got like he literally looks like a Magmar.
Yes, I remember. Yeah, just finding when it's like, oh, here comes a Magmar, and then legitimately,
there it is.
There was a Magmar. I was like, called it.
What would your hidden power type be?
Oh gosh,
you must have prepared for this.
Just to throw like an oddball just from everything, I'm gonna say water.
Okay, that's cool. I think we're missing Volcanion. To me, doesn't count because it's a mythical, but we need an actual fire and water type. We need an actual fire. I think we did get fire and ice, but that's only fire and ice. The fire and ice Pokemon is a form of Darmanitan. So yeah.
Galarian Zen mode of Darmanitan.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, how much more exclusive can that be? Yeah.
And it doesn't even have key art.
Yeah, but now we have Fire Grass with Scovillain. So yeah, now it's just an actual
fire
water.
We have grass water. We do have fire water technically, but again, I don't think they're not in the same league.
Yeah, no. It's not something I can go and catch on a route.
Elemental combos are so sick.
It's because it's like how do you make it work? Like Stunfisk, how it's like ground and electric.
Yeah,
two very opposing things.
Yeah.
But they make it work. Yeah. Electric flying.
What are your top 6 favorite Pokemon? This would be your dream team.
Oh, okay, Jolteon number 1. That's my boy forever. Greninja's my favorite starter.
Okay. Did you choose Greninja?
I choose Greninja.
You got Froakie? Okay.
Yeah, and you can bet your butt that I'm gonna be getting one when crazy. ZA drops.
That's epic. Do you think it'll get a Mega?
Oh, see, that's the question there. I don't know. I think there's a lot of possibility. I think it's a possibility. That's 100% sure, but I don't know. Because that. Oh, I feel like this could almost turn into a thing or a topic point. Because I feel like how we said earlier, like how I said Lumio City was bigger back in the day, but then you were like, well, where is it now?
Yeah.
Same thing with those megas. See, like I want new megas. Everybody wants new megas.
For sure.
But my question is like, if we're going back to Kalos, where were they?
Yeah.
Like if we get new mega, like if we get mega starters, it's like, where are, like I honestly,
no, for sure.
If I have one criticism with those games, I honestly do think it's the fact that those starters didn't get megas. Like the Gen 7 starters, they got personal Z crystals.
It is kind of weird because
Gen 8 starters got their own G maxes, but why not no megas?
Yeah, no, I'm with you because the Gigantamax, like the starters in Gen 8 got Gigantamax forms. Right?
Yeah, eventually.
Yeah, I mean, I would say they were always planned, right? They came out like 6 months after, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, absolutely. Like, why did new Pokemon not get megas? And I guess maybe their plan was like, we'll do it eventually. I think their idea is like, if we introduce a new Pokemon, we don't want the form to overshadow the final form of that Pokemon. I think that maybe is what they were thinking at first, because and then they were like, people don't like Audino. I think we could do more with this design.
Yeah.
But no, I think we've run. Yeah.
That is a brilliant, and honestly one of the best reasonings I've heard, because like it's the same question as well. Gen 6, the region introduced megas.
None of them got megas.
None of the Gen 6 Pokemon got megas. It's like, what was going on there?
So silly. Yeah.
But now that you said that, it's like, well, yeah, all they're gonna think of is just those mega forms. But like, if I think of Houndoom, I still think of, original Houndoom. I don't think I don't immediately go to crazy devil horns, like,
because you had like 10 years or whatever it was to, I guess not you, because you got into Pokemon right at that point.
Yeah. But like afterward, like I still see them. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. That's crazy that was your entry point. That's so, yeah. That was like a lifelong dream to see X and Y
in 3D.
To see it in 3D, and it felt to me, I was like, I feel like I'm playing the anime, right?
Yeah.
And then you had the Pokemon, the Poke-Ami. Super Training was introduced. That was the first generation where I actually completed the decks. Like that was something that was like, you have to be like hardcore, and I'm hardcore, but I'm also 10 years old. Like I'm not.
Yeah,
doing
no,
this.
Exactly. Yeah.
But was 19. I was like, I'm doing this. Like,
yeah,
I can do the decks.
I got the brain power now.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I have the patience. I can strategize.
Yeah, because I didn't start doing the decks until like Sun and Moon era and like onwards. But yeah, now I do it like every time. It's like, oh well, yeah, I know how to get this.
Yeah. So but that is crazy. Yeah. So Jolteon, Greninja.
Yeah, Jolteon, Greninja. I'm a massive fan of Noivern. That is a Pokemon. If they do give megas to old ones, I would love for Noivern to get one.
Okay.
Let's see. I love Darmanitan. That's like my favorite like fire type. Something about that. I love him. Oh gosh. This is like an on the spot question, but it's a good one.
You gotta know these though.
No, I know. It's so true. I love Scizor. Absolutely.
Let's go, dude. All right.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone has said Scizor to this question, but that's a show favorite. It's literally in our it's on our little banner right there.
Yeah. It's the best metal coat ever.
It is. Oh, come on, dude. No, Steelix is great.
Did I say that?
My pet theory is, and I'm thinking about it this week specifically, so I'll bring it up. That Fearow was originally supposed to have a metal coat evolution in
I saw your tweet.
In Skarmory. Doesn't that just like work so perfectly?
You know,
you take a normal
the
bird.
Body shape. Yeah.
It's so simple. I mean, listen, I don't know. They could have like started the design like that, and then we're like, no, we'll just make it separate. We'll make it a version exclusive to Gligar.
Yeah, especially back in the day, because I don't know if you ever looked at it. I'm sure.
Yeah. There's tons of beta Pokemon.
Yes, there are so many ideas, and I'm sure like even the beta Pokemon that we saw, there were a million other ideas that just got scrapped.
There's even more that we haven't even seen. Like those are only the ones that either made it in the game. I think there's others that we might just not have access to.
Yeah, like have you gone down like the Lugia rabbit hole of like how that like
how it was created? Lugia was created for the movie itself. Yeah, which is incredible.
It's like it's so.
They created it as a plot device.
Yeah, that's something that's so jarring to me because you make Gen 1 not kind of on a whim, but kind of on a whim, and then and then
it kind of is an accident.
But then you would include Ho-Oh in the first episode of the anime, so they had that idea.
That was like Ho-Oh is gonna be like the next Mewtwo.
Yeah, exactly. Right? But then,
like the box art of Gold and Silver could have been Typhlosion for Alligator.
Yeah,
and then they were like
Ho-Oh and Suicune. But then
that's interesting.
But then they were like, that's a bird. Okay, slap him on there. That's another bird.
Another bird, yeah.
A flying creature, big man hands, Lugia.
It's such a weird design, and its typing is so weird for what it is.
It's psychic flying.
Why not Dragon Water? Come on. Yeah. Kingdra got Dragon Water, but not Lugia.
Right.
Dragon flying would have been kind of lame. It doesn't need to be even dragon. It could have just been flying water. I'm fine with that as well.
Just something because like it's tied with the tides.
Yeah, dude, 100%. Fire, water. That it just like I think Ho-Oh is just as psychic as Lugia. The fact that Ho-Oh can learn recover, can revive the the lores that it revives. It brings things back from the dead. Why is it not ghost type? You know?
And even if you didn't know like that's how Lugia came to be, you can tell that like Ho-Oh was meant to be there with the lore. Because like you said, it revived them, but nobody's like, oh, Lugia did this. That just doesn't exist.
Yeah, there's like one
to my knowledge.
There's one line of dialogue that says like, I think there's a legendary Pokemon or a scary Pokemon in the sea. Yeah, that's like all they say.
But that's it. But then like there's a whole town. Bless you. There's a whole town that's based around like, how we're burnt, and then these 3 Pokemon died and they came back.
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre. All right, I gotta press you a little bit, man. Have you actually answered the question? What's your dream team?
Dream team.
You're kind of dodging it a little bit. You're like,
Jolteon.
Oh, did you see the anime episode? Just trying to distract me.
Okay, let's go. Okay, I said Jolteon, Greninja, Darmanitan, Noivern, Scizor. I got one more.
Darmanitan honestly is a good one. The fire
Hatterene.
gorilla. Who?
Hatterene.
Hatterene, yeah, dude. Oh, you say Hatterene? Yeah. Is that what it is in the anime?
Or is that, I don't know. I think
I just say Hatterene. I assume the E is silent. No, Hattereni's good. I like that a lot.
I like it.
It's kind of it's a witch Pokemon that I enjoy.
It's like I see it. It's like it's the new age Gardevoir.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same type.
Dude. I think it's just as creepy. Stage. You know? And there's no mistaking it for whatever they mistake Gardevoir for. You know, it's actually crazy. No, because inside of Hatterene, it's like this like little.
It's just a little body.
It's a little green alien.
Yeah.
It's like a gray, rubbery alien. It's real creepy. It's
so funny.
So
like
creepy.
the body we see on the second stage, like it keeps that body. It just its hat or hair, I don't know, whatever it is. It just grows and it just keeps it up. Yeah. Oh.
it's like a squid, right? So you got into you started. You told us about how you discovered Pokemon. Did you ever have a Pokemon break? Did you ever kind of put it down, or could that be in your future?
I think that's something that's definitely more in my future because.
Oh no! Don't say that.
Well, I will not okay. Not. I meant more so in my future because I never had one in the past. Like I'm a very, very optimistic and sort of forgiving person because, like I said, I started with X and Y, which some people would say I started with one of the worst.
People would say that with Listen, there's people starting with Scarlet and Violet. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
My niece's first game was Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, and the internet had its time with it and freaked out. Yeah. But I'm like, my niece loves it, and she's forever. Like, I caught her humming the songs of Kanto, and I'm like, that actually it got me like emotional. I was like, this is beautiful.
Yeah,
right. Like, that's the generational thing there.
Yeah, because I have younger cousins and they're getting into it, and like they're
playing Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah, exactly. And
they don't see all the issues that we see. They go, "This is a fun game. I love Meowscarada."
They just see like, "Oh wow, this is like I could never do this. This is incredible."
Yeah.
But then you grow up and you get a little bit more like not pessimistic, but you see like, oh, they could have done this better. You see people do it themselves, but no, I'm still very like an optimistic person. So, like I've never had a horrible experience with a Pokemon game personally. Sure. Like I've loved every experience that I've had so far, and I'm always looking for the best. I'm always paying attention to the best, and not ignoring, but I'm acknowledging the worst, but then ignoring it. Like I'm not letting that consume me.
Sure.
Because I think I think
acknowledge
a lot of people,
it so you can discuss it, so maybe you can see what is actually good about the series. Totally. That makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think Scarlet and Violet has one of, if not the best stories in all of Pokemon, even throughout the DLCs. Like I think those characters and how they were executed was beautiful. I cannot sit here and say that those games play perfectly or are even the most fun to play. Because like with Pokemon games, if you get them when they come out and you're playing with like a group of friends, regardless if it is literally like next to them playing or just offline or just like, oh, did you go here yet? That is such a fun experience. But once Scarlet and Violet was kind of done, like I beat the story, I beat the game, I got the Pokedex, I'm kind of like, I'm done. But I don't know what it is exactly, but I didn't have that with Sword and Shield or anything previously. I did have that with BDSP though.
Yeah, I had it with BDSP. I had it with Let's Go. I don't know what kind of player you are, but I'm with you. I put down Scarlet and Violet. I don't really, for whatever reason, I put it down. It could be life events or whatever. I haven't really played much. Sword and Shield, I was in a different place in my life where I had a lot more downtime. I was not making YouTube content, so all my spare time was just playing Pokemon, period.
Right. Yeah.
And I did play a lot of Sword and Shield. I think similar to BDSP, there's a lot of gameplay friction. There's a lot of like things that should just be like utility things that you're supposed to do in the game that are too frustrating to actually, where you get to the point where you're just like, I don't want to play this. This isn't fun. And I think in Sword and Shield, like I can just collect Pokemon. I can move them around my box. I can do whatever I need to do and it works.
Yeah.
And in Scarlet and Violet, it's like difficult to even move Pokemon in my box, right?
Yeah, because like especially because like how laggy it is. Yeah, and it's like that. Yeah, as you were saying, I think I know what you were about to say.
Yeah, and there's also
that should be like.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, like moving stuff in the boxes or grabbing stuff from the box, like that should be like a base element that's like
Totally
good to go. Don't worry about
yeah.
it. Like that, yeah.
But there's also things in the world, and listen, I have spent plenty of time in Scarlet and Violet, like shiny hunting and stuff. I like to shiny hunt.
I'm a big shiny hunter too. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's fun to just like, I do it mindlessly. Like I'll be listening to a podcast and I'm just like going around the region, and it's fun. Shinies pop up. It's a lot of fun. I had a blast in Kitakami. I think the Indigo Disc was a lot of fun, and I haven't gone back to them yet. And maybe I'm just remembering the negative things. Maybe I'm not being optimistic, right?
Right.
There are a lot of great things of Scarlet and Violet, and I think a lot of other people, this isn't me, but are enjoying the game for the raid functionality. Right?
Yeah,
and there's a lot of monthly events that people are enjoying, and I got to give it props. I got to give Game Freak props for that, because those are definitely keeping people tied in with the series on a weekly basis, even. So that's great.
Yeah, like I remember I had a group of people that I know were just like, they prepare for every monthly raid where it's like they do like every starter's final Evo, and they were like, okay, this is what this Pokemon's gonna have, so we're gonna want this Pokemon because encounter that. Like I remember people were fully delved into that and were like just like everything about that. It's
that's not my play style.
Yeah, exactly.
But people do enjoy it.
Like
I think it's that polish that I think, because it's like when something's polished, you're like I don't know. Think of like I don't know. This is kind of this is like a millennial example, but like the iPhone, right? It just kind of like, you don't need to think about the mechanics of how stuff works. You just expect it to turn on, and you can do whatever you need to do. Yeah. And then that's it. Like, I don't want to be like thinking about like, oh, does this work? Do I need proper, I don't even storage, or do I have the right update?
Do I have enough storage?
Like, it just works. It just works. That's
how much battery do I have? It just does.
It just works. And I think if a Pokemon game engine is not even like, has a lot of friction for the most basic things, it's going to encourage you to stop playing. I think Legends Arceus was so much fun for me.
Oh my god.
Because you just pick it up and it's like, there's just always stuff to do. It's moving, it's living, it's everything I love about Pokemon. So
I've recently, more now than ever, I've been like, I think about when I was playing Legends Arceus, and because like I have it all documented and like recorded and stuff like that. I'm like, God, that was so much fun.
So much fun.
But at first, like, there's a level of doubt and uncertainty in me. I'm like, if I played those games like right now, like if I booted up the game, would I have that, like, and restarted, would I have that same fun? Because part of it, I does feel like, is like that first time experience. But I'm like,
well, have you gone back and played it?
No, I haven't.
Yeah. So I think it holds up. I think it definitely holds up. I've gone back. I've also heard criticism, and I haven't played it back recently, but I have heard criticism saying that the story is just like kind of meh. And so
it doesn't really pick up until...
Yeah, and so a full playthrough isn't really the greatest thing in the world. Again, I experienced these games and all the different, like, I experienced the Pokemon world through shiny hunting. That's how I like go back to areas, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Especially in Gen 5, like I have a file with it's white too, with a shiny charm. So it's like, it's actually like lower odds. It's the lowest odds for any 2D pixel art game.
Wait, it is?
Yeah, so it's like it's basically, it's whatever the standard rate is, 1 in 8,000, whatever.
Huh?
But there's a ×2 multiplier. So it basically makes it whatever it is in X and Y. Is kind of how it works. Anyways, okay. I go to specific routes, and it's so much fun to find the different encounters, and experience the isolated route. I kind of forget.
Especially because like there are some that have like those really rare encounters.
Yeah.
Or you'll always just get an auto.
Yeah, exactly. But do you think we could still get a Gen 5 remake? Is it inevitable?
I personally, I think it's inevitable that we're going to get a Gen 5 remake, because coming into Pokemon through X and Y, I feel like I've said that a billion times now, coming into it and then seeing everything that came before and then seeing how it continued after, the remake cycle is here to stay. Because I think one thing that Pokemon does, or the reason why they do that, is because like people get into Pokemon at every new age. Yeah. Like me, I would have never gotten the chance to even play the originals, much less Fire Red, Leaf Green. But then in the modern day, they brought it back in a different format with Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Not the same, but it is still the same. I think they are going to continue that formula for as long as, like, I think it's inevitable, genuinely. And that's not to tie it all the way back to the beginning, but that's kind of why I made my video in the first place, because while I would personally like a Gen 5 remake and have it be done as best as it could be, I also made that video because I believe that they're going to be done eventually, so why not do them the best they could be? Yeah.
I think that's fair, man. I think that's fair. Do you have any closing thoughts?
I mean, I'm so unbelievably excited for ZA.
We need more information. We really do.
No, honestly, I'm waiting.
Every time I want to get hype, I'm like, okay, but we don't know anything.
Yeah, the moment that first trailer drops, it's like these podcasts. I'm gonna be like, all right, what do they think? What do they got to say? Because everybody has so much different input and like theories and ideas. So it's like anywhere you look on the internet, it's gonna be just like a giant information or just theory dump. But I'm so looking forward to them.
Do you have any like new Pokemon videos planned for your channel?
None at the moment, because I honestly am kind of waiting for more information. Like
you don't have any interest in like going back, and doing like theories on like older games or anything like that?
I mean, I don't know, because I mean, not that I'm 100% original, but I try my best to try and come up with new things, and it's a little hard.
That's not fair to yourself. You definitely are original. Like,
well, thank you.
It was these two videos I saw, and I loved the thumbnail, and then I mean, I don't know. Again, your energy. I just watched it back before we recorded, and the part where you're like, and let's get into it, and then the anime music comes in, and I was like, oh, I'm getting so hyped. I actually watched and reacted to this video like a year ago or whenever you did it, 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. I thought it was a really, really good video with good ideas. Yeah, I guess you don't have as much Pokemon content as I thought you did, but
there's still a handful. At one point, it was like the majority of everything that I did.
I gotta watch this one. Why Gen 4 is the best gen?
Well, that's an April Fool's video, because
That's funny, dude.
Because I personally have a gripe with Gen 4. I have. I
don't think it's that good. Listen, I don't think someone who played it, like, that was my Pokemon break, and it was because I was like, all right, I get the gist. You know?
Yeah.
Gen 4 at the time was like the third time they tried to copy Gen 1. Maybe the fourth time if you count the actual remake of Gen 1.
Yeah, but yeah, like that video, or I'll just not gonna spoil you for it, because that is genuinely one of the funniest videos I think I've ever done. But I gotta see it. I make points in it that are like sarcastic points that are obviously like there's a flaw with this. But yeah, I mean, what Legends EA could have been, that is genuinely like I genuinely feel like once we get a new trailer, I'm gonna have something in mind, because because what Legends EA could have been was the biggest thing that wasn't captured, like whether it was capturing my mind, like what could a Kalos Legends game look like?
Love it, man. I love it. Well, people can subscribe to your channel, promote whatever you want to promote right now.
All right, as you can see on the screen, Egan Media, that's my YouTube channel. I stream on Twitch, and I play these Pokemon games, or I play any Pokemon thing that I may play. That'll be streamed on Twitch. I
gotta come check you out one of these days when you're streaming. Why don't you stream on YouTube?
I used to. Actually, I used to. But then I moved over to Twitch just because it felt like, or a lot of my friends were over there, and I wanted to join in on that. But
that's fun.
But I will say, actually, when the new games come out, I might find a way. Yeah, like there's my whole Legends Arceus.
Oh, awesome.
When the new games come out,
awesome. I'll go watch this. Your Legends Arceus. I didn't realize you streamed your Legends Arceus playthrough.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome.
But when ZA comes out, I'm gonna try and find a way to or I'm not find a way. I know how to, but I'm gonna do both on YouTube and on Twitch. At the same time.
Cool, man. Yeah, multi-stream. All right, sounds good, man. Well, dude, thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely, thank you for having me.
We got to develop some sort of outro, but thank you guys for watching. If you want to subscribe to Egan's channel, you can do so. Links will be in the description. Also, subscribe to Hidden Power if you are new. Yeah, see you soon. Peace.
Take it easy.